All right, let's get this party started. Hello, everyone. Soul Commodore back at you again. And we're back here with this lovely painting that we've been working on. We are almost finished. Um, well, almost. We're almost finished, if I'm being real. Um, Basically, what we have left to do is a lot of small little details, like up here, all the traffic lights, finishing off some of the lights. Some of the street lights. This string of street lights we need to kind of repaint and position. We're going to clean this up here. We're going to put in some curbs. We got to put in this lamp post here. So there is still a bunch of stuff to do, but we're nearing the end of it. We've got all like just a bunch of like small stuff to do. So without further ado, let's grab our paintbrush, the one that we're going to be using, and we'll get going. Hope you all are having a fantastic Monday so far. I know Mondays are rough for a lot of people. Uh, Myself, I like it always kind of sucks when you've had a good weekend and then the weekend ends. But for me, honestly, the worst day of the week has always been Tuesday. It's always been Tuesday. Because Tuesday, if you had a really good weekend, on the Monday, you're still kind of living off the high of that weekend. And by Tuesday, it's like, it's gone. Plus, it's the longest day. Like, it's the furthest day from the next weekend. So, Tuesdays, uh, Tuesdays are the worst. For me, at least. Oh, why did that music just skip ahead? I didn't want it to do that. It's not even playing the playlist I wanted. There. Oh, you gotta love technology sometimes. I'm gonna get out another brush. Make sure we clean it off, dry it off. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna go in with some black, and we're just going to make a few of these edges where there are puddles. We're gonna make them a little more defined. And then we're gonna come back in with some gray paint and kind of, well, I guess kind of ooh, close. Kind of just repaint some of the areas. So I'm gonna move my camera down a bit if I can, if it'll let me. Will you let me? There we go. Didn't want it quite that low, but now I gotta come up a bit. There we go. You know what? That's good enough. Yeah, we're just gonna come in here and we're gonna define the edge of some of these puddles. Just make it a crisper line, basically. You don't need a whole lot of paint on your brush to do this. Just a little. It's going to give us some nice crisp definition, as you can see there. Then we're going to do the same thing on this side. This side's a little bit more loosey-goosey than the other, but we're still going to try and define as much as we can the edge of this puddle here. Just kind of tame it a little bit. And then we'll move on to the next step, which will be grabbing some gray paint. And doing some ancillary highlights of the lights reflecting off the road. There we go, but now that's all nice and dark and defined. We're gonna do a little bit more of that up here. Just like so. Beautiful. Okay. A little bit more of that just up here. Good. There we go. And that might be all we do for now. Oh, no, I lied. No, don't listen to me. Hopefully I don't cover this too much. Back. And with my arm. But the angle that I need to be at to do this successfully. There we go. Need a little bit more paint on the brush for this part here. Get that nice crisp line through there. Basically what we're doing is we're darkening up some of these areas so that it brings more attention to the light that's surrounding. That's really our end goal. That's what we're trying to do. It's a little bit of a balancing act. That can take a while and a lot of practice to get right, but with enough practice, anybody's able to do it, really. There we go. And let's see, is there any super dark areas I can put up here that are not too obstructive? Maybe like right here. Nice big puddle right there. And like I said, if you're going to add some dark, it's really important that you come back in and also add some light. That's what we'll be doing momentarily. Just going to make sure that I get an angle here correct. Well, that's okay. We can fix that later. Yo, Crystal, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good to see you. How you doing? So, now what we're going to do is we're going to clean that brush off to get most of the black paint off. And we're going to add a little bit of white to make a nice gray. Then we're going to start adding some more reflections. Ah, very nice, very nice. Some sewing projects. Yes, indeed. It's always nice to have some artsy company. So, likewise. Okay, so we can grab some pure white paint. Actually, we're going to start out doing some maintenance here. There we go. Now we're gonna take off a good amount of that white just on our canvas down here where there is nothing. I'm gonna add some black to get that gray. We don't want a whole lot of paint on the brush. Really don't want a whole lot of paint. Because basically what we're gonna be doing is we're going to be kind of filling in areas that will have a bit lighter of a reflection. So like right here, oh, I need a little bit more white. That was a little bit too gray. But still don't want a whole lot of paint on the brush. Just a very small amount. Because this black here is going to have little instances of reflection in the puddle. Just like that. Then we're going to do the same thing over here, essentially. Just in this area here. Yeah. Going to give like a little extra border to the puddle. Is essentially what we're doing there. Just kind of reinforcing just how wet this paint is. just like so. Then we're going just across the borders of some of these areas here, just extending some out so that you can see some of the cracks and ripples in the road. Because no road, no matter how new, is completely smooth. So, Crystal, I hope that you and Bill are well. We're just kind of deciding here where some reflections will look good, like maintaining where they're supposed to be, but also just kind of deciding where might some reflections look good. Now we're going to take a smaller brush, my brush here, and get some black. Now we're just going to do some finer puddle details. Just like so. And you're actually going to come up here and very lightly kind of introduce somewhat of a horizon line. Just a little bit, just to clean it up. Just like so. And get some white on the very end of our brush. Kind of go back over that part that I accidentally darkened too much. And then we'll probably do it again. Okay. Now I think what we're gonna do for now is probably just leave the road alone. It's looking pretty good and I don't want to overwork it for now. I'll probably come back in a little bit later and clean up some stuff, but for now, I don't really want to touch it anymore. So we're going to clean off our brush again. And now we're going to start working on some finer details up here. So I'm going to move the camera again. And see if this will let me zoom in. Yeah. Nice. Because we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff right in here. So I'm going to get my fine brush again. The nice thing about this is you can kind of ignore all of the how do I put this gently? In the photo, like there's a whole bunch of like lens glare, right? Because of course, lens flare, I should say. Because of course there is, it's a camera. But that's just how the light was working when I took the picture. But here, I can kind of ignore all that and just do the glow of the light itself without introducing any lens flare. Because it's so funny when obviously there are some eyesight conditions that can cause it, like say like astigmatism and all that. But it's kind of funny when something is supposed to be someone's point of view and then all of a sudden you like see like lens flare, or I keep saying lens flare, lens glare. It's like, well, no, that particular lens glare only happens with a camera, not with the human eye. So when I'm painting like this, I tend not to introduce any of the lens, any of the artifacts that would be present in the lens. I just go for what the eye would see, for the most part. But obviously, when you're creating your own work, you take whatever liberties you want. First things first, I am going to lighten up some of this. Because the thing about paint is that, especially acrylic, is that it's not as opaque as, like, say, like a thick oil paint. I want something to be really, really, really bright and opaque. You have to go over it a couple of times. And that right there, I'm going to leave just like that. Okay. So what are we going to work on first? Well, I think what we're going to work on first is actually putting in the appearance of some of these streetlights here, right? Not all of them, and not in a whole lot of detail, just a few grayish highlights to suggest that they're there, We'll add a little bit of yellow and red to get kind of a brown appearance. Oh, my red all dried up. So we'll just get some more. I do need to buy more red paint, actually. I always seem to run out of red paint, which is funny because I don't run out of it because I use too much of it, or so much of it. I run out because I don't tend to use a whole lot of it in my work. But one thing that I've done since university actually, is I've mentioned it on here before, so if any of you have heard this story before, please forgive me. But when I was a poor university student, we would have to buy, our own paints and all that kind of stuff, and you're running low on cash because student loans only go so far. So we had a project in my second year of university where my professor challenged us and said, you're to create a painting, but you can only use 5 colors. 3 colors of your choosing, and black and white. And for that painting, I picked blue, yellow, and orange. But I really liked how I was able to work with those colors to get the rest of the colors that I wanted in the piece. And I was kind of surprised that I was able to do that. So it got me to thinking. And eventually what happened was it caused me to further challenge myself. And for the rest of my university career, um, and up to this point, I only use five colors. I only use cadmium red hue, cadmium yellow hue, cerulean blue, because it's my favorite blue, titanium white, and Mars black. Those are the only five colors I use. Because you can make every single color out of those colors. It takes some work, it takes some doing. It takes a little bit of knowledge of how color works, but you know, that's fairly easy to learn if you're interested in learning it. So, and in that way, I don't have to spend money on all the other like different colors, like all the greens and all the purples, yellows, all like burnt umber and all that. Like I can make burnt umber and raw umber. So kind of nice that way. And it does, like I said, it does take more work than just going out and buying those colors. And if that's what you want to do, by all means, go right ahead. I ain't here judging anybody for getting the colors that they want to use. There's an artist that I love her work. Her name is Michaela Lucio. You should look her up on Instagram. She uses all sorts of colors. She works primarily in watercolor, but she uses all sorts of different colors, and all the stuff looks amazing. But she uses the colors that she wants to, and I like the challenge of myself only working with the five colors. You know. All this to say is like you basically have to find like if you want to do art, you have to find out what it is that you like doing in terms of the medium, in terms of the process, the colors you want to use, all of that. You gotta basically figure it out for yourself. Which there's something kind of cool about that. Okay, so there's one pole. And now we'll just do some more. That will be a little more faded because they're further in the background. Get the less light they'll pick up. Now, of course, in human sight, we'd be able to. I mean, given with the caveat that you're seeing like 2020 or better, you would obviously see most of the poles going down this street. But this is where I cheat a little bit, and I only kind of do what the camera would see because it's less work for me. There's two. Hopefully those are showing up all right, because I know I'm zoomed in a bit. Another one. By this point, you're going to stop seeing them. There we go. And then there's going to be one right on the corner here. Actually, I was just thinking I might redo some of these. Just because with perspective, you would see the perspective isn't quite right. So that's okay. What we do basically is we just take a dry brush. Or a dry-ish brush at least. Get some black paint on there. And we basically just cover up what we did and do it again. But there's no shame in that. I love the Bob Ross ethos of like, there's no mistakes, only happy accidents. But me and myself, I make mistakes. There's sometimes happy accidents, but mostly I just make mistakes. And that was one. Now I only had to take out this first one here because it was a little bit too close for what the perspective would suggest. So I'm just going to move it this way a bit. The rest of these are pretty well in perspective. They're not too bad. I'm going to extend them a little bit higher. Just a little. They don't have to be super detailed. Like literally, these are just like some kind of faded lines that I'm painting in. That's all they are. The detail doesn't really exceed that. Because you're just kind of suggesting that there's something there. Because these lights would have poles, right? They're not just floating in space all on their own. So you just kind of give them a little something like that to ground them, right? And then there you go. So. Now, again, I say that with the idea that you're trying to do something that's a little bit more photorealistic. Or if not photorealistic, at least more realistic. If you're not going for that at all, then you could just have the lights suspended in air without anything grounding them at all. You don't have to have anything there to suggest they're actually anchored. You can do whatever you like. Yo, Juliana, welcome in. How are you? How are you? Put your stream on our TV, and my mom said loudly, "Wow, oh my God, this beautiful." Thank you, thank you. It's good to see you. I know it's been a while because I was on a little bit of an unofficial hiatus because we moved, and I was slowly getting back into streams, and then I caught a touch of a respiratory illness, but that's all resolved now. So now we're back. But it's good to see you. I'll give you guys a full view of the piece in just a second. Once we do this poll here. Very well. Oh, good. Yeah. Glad to hear it. So for context, this is a street corner in my hometown, and this is a very rainy night where I was walking around and decided to snap a picture of the street. And this piece is actually going to go in our living room, along with another piece, which I'll show you now. I'm going to zoom this out and move the camera back as much as I can, and then we'll get back to this detail stuff. Because the two pieces are kind of correlated to each other. So excuse the camera movement. It's going to be kind of bouncy. I apologize. Anybody who gets motion sickness might want to close their eyes for a second. So that isn't the full view, but everything up top is basically just black. So I'm going to put some clouds up there eventually. But the piece that's going along with is a piece that I did way back in, I think 2015. Is this piece here. I just realized that there's the whole thing. This is also from my hometown, another rainy street. So this one here is this is the intersection here, but this is Queen Park. And then this is Sandy's and Grand Avenue. But yeah, so these two are going to be hanging up next to each other in our living room. And I had to do another one because this piece here is 2 feet by 3 feet. And I was going through all of my collection of paintings and realized that I don't have another painting that's 2 feet by 3 feet. So we're doing one from scratch. So get back in there. And in case those two pieces weren't a hint, I love taking walks in the rain. So I'm going to zoom this back in. Maybe not that close, because I can just zoom in the rest. Although I guess I can bring you as close as I can, right? That way I don't have to zoom as far. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, these are not pieces that I'm currently working on for the because I'm doing some more work for an exhibition that I'm planning and trying to applying to some grants for. Oh, the sound is very low? Huh. Maybe it's because I was so far away from my computer. Let me turn this up a bit. Let me know if this is better. And let me know how the music is in the background. Much better? Okay, good, good. And the music in the background's okay? Cool, cool. Thank you for letting me know. The music's good? All right, cool. But yeah, thank you for letting me know, because I can never tell. Plus, like, the way OBS works, it'll just change settings on you. So I am going to straighten up this pole just a little bit. It's looking a little, well, actually, I may not have to straighten it up. I'm just going to add something on the left side of the pole. I squared up some. And then we're going to give it a little highlight going up the right side, because that side's facing the light. That one there. There, I think that works. I'm going to give it a little bit of black on the bottom to kind of ground it a bit. Anchor it to the ground, if you will. Now, next is going to be a pole here, going straight up here. So that one's going to be much grayer and much easier to see. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm debating taking out most of this tree that's here and then just kind of repainting it after I'm done the pole, which I think that's what I'm going to do, which is a bit of a backwards way of working, but I don't really like how the tree turned out anyway. So this will be just, it'll be easier for me. Just very, very lightly. We're kind of just kind of erasing the tree, basically. And then we'll fill it in a little bit better in a minute. Hey, Nat. First of all, thank you for the glug. I appreciate it. And thank you for the lurk as well. You know what's coming. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Thank you for the lurk. And hello to you too. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Hope it's been treating you well. But yeah, as I was saying before, this piece isn't part of the more conceptual stuff that I'm working on for this new exhibition idea. Because of those of you who have been around for a while, you know that I was for a lot of 2020, well, not a lot of 2022, in the early part of well, like December of 2022, in January of 2023, I was working on a solo show called Anybody But Myself. No, that's not what it was called. It was called Quiet Part Out Loud. And doing a lot of work for that. And now I got another idea. I've got another couple ideas jumping around in my head. But this particular idea is for a show called Anybody But Myself. And we did a couple of drawings slash paintings that are in my VODs right now. We were working on some stuff for that. The show, I'm thinking, is going to deal a lot with self-perception and the sense of self and what it means to be oneself, and kind of reflect the times in our lives where we wish that we were anybody except who we are, you know, for any number of reasons. That's kind of what I want to get across with the show. Because I mean, there are plenty of times in my life that I've felt like that I'd rather be anyone and anywhere else than where I was and who I am. Thankfully, those thoughts tend to be fleeting for me. they're not persistent or pervasive, but you know, it still happens every once and again. Um, and this show is going to kind of reflect that. Um, and well, at least that's my hope that it does. It may not. But this piece isn't part of that. This piece is a personal piece for my wife and I that we're gonna put in our living room above our TV because we've got nothing there. Oh, Nat redeemed local guide. Oh man, what was local guide? What was that? I gotta look up my own thing. What was local guide? Give you a quick review about some art products, video games, etc. Ah, okay. I forgot this was the thing that I did. They won't always be good reviews, so buyer beware. Well, no, I'll give it a good review. I'll give this a good review. Um, okay, let's close that. Opinion on different types of paint. What's your favorite? Oh, okay. So the paints that I use, and this isn't a sponsored ad. No paint company is giving me money, but I like for both acrylic and water soluble oil. I like Winsor and Newton. I've been using this since university. Um, you get a good quality paint for your money, and they aren't like overly expensive. Like obviously, paint can be expensive, but it's a very good quality paint for prices that I feel won't they don't break the bank. Um, you know, um, so I've always been a fan of Winsor and Newton. It's just a good quality paint, a good opaqueness, a good feel on the brush. Um, yeah, I've always like since I was in university, I've been using Winsor and Newton, and hasn't steered me wrong yet. But I mean, there are other great budget paints as well. Because really, what it is whatever gets you into painting, whatever gets you into drawing, whatever it is that gets you into it. It could be dollar store paint, but if it inspires you to like get started on something because you're worried about like the price is going to be too expensive and everything, like go get the cheap stuff and just work around with that, and you might find that that ends up being the best stuff for you. You know, um, there's no there's no real rules with it. Uh, like I said, I use Winsor and Newton because I feel like that's the best choice for me. But there's like really cheap acrylics that you can get at Michaels or other art stores that you know work just as well. They tend to be a little runnier, like they aren't as thick. Uh, those paints, but you know what? Maybe that's what you're going for. Um, but you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on paints if you don't want to. Uh, you can get perfectly good quality paint for not that price. Again, if you want to spend that kind of money, if you have that kind of money to spend, go right ahead. But you don't have to. Yeah, you stand 99-cent paints. There you go. That works. That works. At the end of the day, whatever works for you is what works for you, and that's awesome. Whatever it is that gets you creating, I'm all for it. Use what you got. Okay. So now that we've kind of redone that tree a little bit, although that part's a little dark, or a little lighter than I want, so we're going to darken that up a bit. Do I prefer acrylic? I do, for a number of reasons. One, I'm not bothered by the smell of oil paint, um, and I use water soluble oil paint, which is you can actually clean the brushes with water, and like bar soap, like laundry soap, like a a bar of laundry soap is what I'm trying to say. Um, and it works really well. It works just like regular oil, except you don't need a whole lot of harsh chemicals to clean your brushes. You just use water and soap. But the paint doesn't have as harsh a smell as like traditional oil paint, but there is still a little bit of a smell. And although I'm not particularly bothered by it, my wife is, and even though I have my own studio, smells can go through the house. So um, I personally try to limit the amount of oil that I use. Um, and I just prefer acrylic because I like the challenge of trying to blend and everything with a medium that dries as quickly as acrylic paint does. It's fun for me to try and do that. So yeah, I personally prefer acrylic. And we're gonna lose it a little bit in this light, just a little bit. Just looking at my reference image, make sure I'm on the right track here. We are going to lose the pole in this light a little bit until we get to the other side, and then we'll get it back again. So but yeah, I really like the challenge of trying to actually blend out acrylic paint before it starts to dry on me. I find that fun challenge. But it also frustrates the hell out of some other people, which is why they prefer oil. I also like uh, acrylic because it is cheaper than oil. So I get the challenge that I like for less of a price, which is nice. Okay. Cool. We've got a loose bristle. Okay. Now I'm gonna come back down here. Black. We're gonna kind of do a line here. I'm gonna kind of smudge it a bit with my fingers. And now we're gonna do the back side of this pole, basically. I need more black, actually. That'd be darker. we go. So when I'm working on this stuff, hopefully my head's not in the way. Or my arm. I'm trying to keep them out of the way as much as possible. Okay, and maybe a little kind of junction box there that's reflecting. Nope. Now that we're up here, we're gonna kind of get some black paint. And I'm just gonna kind of lightly touch above this, and then just kind of scoop it down to kind of rub out the top of that. There we go. And now we're going to put a little transformer up there. Now, whereabouts is that? It's about here. Light on that, actually. Sorry, I keep turning my back on y'all. It's how rude of me. But to get the angle here, I need to kind of have my back turned a bit. Now we're gonna get some black paint. I'm gonna wash off my brush first, and then get some fresh black paint on my palette. And we'll touch that up a bit, give it some dimension, because right now it just looks like a gray cylinder on a pole up there. That doesn't look exactly right. So we're gonna get some black paint, give it some dimension. So it looks a little bit more correct. Doo -doo, doo -doo. Doo. So this is just pure black paint that I have on my brush, which again, you don't usually use pure black, but for the small amount of area that I'm going to use it, it'll be fine. It won't look too out of place. It'll blend in enough with the background. And now, I'm going to take a bunch of that paint off my brush and mix it with a little bit of white to get a dark, dark gray. And we'll start adding in like I said, some dimension to this, some dimensionality, some shadows and highlights. And so, like I said, it's not just a flat cylinder, well, almost rectangular thing just sitting up in the air on top of this pole. There we go. Now it's actually got some dimension to it. I will be adding a little bit of black at the top. Extending this pole up just a little bit. Give it some more air to breathe. Same with extending it down just a touch. Because sometimes you have to give things just a little bit more room, you know? There we go. So that's not the main that's not the main pole on this corner though. There's also a small pole here that will actually have our no walk signal basically. So we'll get to working on that. But first, I want to shore up this curve. That'll be the next thing we do. So in the background here, this curve is going to be just basically just black. Any detail there will honestly just distract the eye, and I don't want to do that. So just going to go in here. Just make a very, very defined black line, because that's also going to like bring out these highlights, these reflections in the street a lot more. And as we come up, we'll add just a touch more white to it to start to gray it out. Then as the curve gets closer to the viewer, we'll start to add some white highlights to it to show that the curve itself is also reflecting some of this light. But in the distance, we didn't really need that as much, like down here. But basically what we're doing is we're getting a very nice clean edge from which to work from. It also helps the viewer. Because it kind of directs the eye where to where to go. It lays out a nice border for the eye to follow. And of course it ends here. I am going to add a black line here to show the start of this curve here, but it is going to have some highlights above it, so don't worry. It's not going to stay as dark as it's going to look for long. And then we'll just continue on down here. And if we mess up and get some black paint where we don't want it, it's okay. Everything with paint is fixable. You have to wait for the paint to dry, but it is fixable. So if there's something that you don't like how it turned out, just in the case of acrylic, just wait a couple minutes. And honestly, with the amount of paint that I'm putting down here, which is very, very, very little, it might even be just a matter of seconds before you can go, hey, let me try that again. So I'm sure I told some of you in past streams how I got prescribed a brand new inhaler for my asthma and how well it's been working. Well, I got confirmation of that recently because I weighed myself recently, and it turns out that I've lost 15 pounds. Now, a lot of that has to do with the dietary choices that I made, because it is true, you can't outrun a bad diet, but it also helps. I just realized you can't really see what I'm doing over in this corner. But it helps your weight loss goals when you go to the gym and you can actually breathe, which is very, very nice. It's been nice being able to get back to that routine as well. Just like with streaming. It's crazy how much gets taken away when you don't feel particularly well. Yep. Okay, so now we're gonna clean that brush off completely, and we're gonna grab some white paint, and now we're gonna start putting a few highlights on this curve to kind of show that it is reflecting a little bit of light. It's all very small detail work, so I apologize if it's not showing up great on the camera. But I didn't want to do that. Now I got to go back in with some black and fix what I just did. And then wash the brush again. And then do that again. Oh, that's why there's an errant bristle. That would do it. Let's get this brush back into shape. There we go. There we go. Okay, now, yeah, a little bit here. And here. Go. And do a slight bit just over here. And we're going to tamp that down with just a little bit of black. There we go. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, let's do this this pole here. Where this the walk sign is. About is that we have this pole here, so it's about halfway between. Right. So like right about here. Actually, before we do that, I need to black that out. We need to black this out and then decide what we're doing with this space back here. Because there is a house back here in the original photo, but I'm not sure if I want to depict a house actually. I'm not sure I do. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I want to do with that space yet, but we got to make a decision soon. um, I don't know. Maybe we will kind of show what could be a house back there. Maybe. What I am going to do is kind of have what could be a bush sitting on the edge of this grass here. I am going to do that. Just like that. I'm going to give it a bit of a shadow behind it. Then go in with some white. Add that to the color we just made. Not that much white. I'm trying to wash this out. Maybe a few highlights at the top here. Like this tree. And then can add some more yellow, a little more white. Start. There we go. I don't know, maybe that's all we need for this. I might still put like just very, very faded suggestion that there might be a house there. Very faded though. Grab some white, some black, and maybe a touch of red, yellow, and a little bit of blue. More white. Have like a really washed out kind of brownish color. Then we'll add a little bit of black to that to really gray it out. I want this to be like maybe like right here. Just ever so slightly the suggestion of a house. Some black and really define that border at the top of that window. Black again. And we'll gray that out even more. Need some more black. I want that to be barely perceptible just by looking at it. That technique again that I'm using right there is just I put the paint on and then I just kind of dab at it with my finger, like directly afterwards. And it kind of picks the paint up off the canvas that we just laid down. And gives kind of a faded look. So there we go. Very tiny, barely imperceptible house. Or barely perceptible, I should say. All right, what else can we do with the time that we've got left? I'm gonna go about 10 more minutes. You know what, let's put in the back of this traffic light, because you might be wondering what this smudge is that's here. Well, it's a traffic light. You can see the other one here, there's the red, the actual red light, which I will add a little bit of white light to. I'm gonna need to wash another brush. There we go. come up here. I know we were going to do that poll, but I think I'm going to come back to that. I want to get this traffic light in. Yeah. So what are we going to do here? The first thing we're going to do is get some white paint on our brush, because it turns out that there's a street light here. So we're going to kind of highlight it there, and then we're going to kind of just blend it into the background, much like we did with the other lights. But it's going to stop right here. You need a little bit of black added to that. Yeah. This is the kind of the fun that I was talking about with acrylic. You've got to be quick with this. You want to blend this and have it look even somewhat realistic. Otherwise, that acrylic's going to start to dry on you, and then you can't blend it at all. But there we go. And that took me a while to learn how to do that. Okay, so we're gonna need some yellow, obviously, and a little bit of red, not too much. I'm just gonna make this slightly orange. Add a little black to it to darken it up, because this traffic light is in shadow. It is in shadow, so it's not the middle of the day. It's not going to be a bright, like, yellow, orangish color. It's going to look a little more brown than it is yellow. We just mix that so we feel like we've got the color right, and add a little bit of white, because adding white to it will kind of like wash it out a bit, which then when we add black will give it just the tinges, the tiniest tinge of gray. We end up with a nice deep color to suggest that this thing in the light is in fact yellow, but in this moment of time isn't. White, just to thicken it up a bit. I will say that of all the colors of these Winsor & Newton colors, yellow is probably the thinnest of them, the most translucent. The cadmium yellow hue is fairly thin. So just keep that in mind if you're looking into getting these paints. So all of them are fairly thick in terms of like their not so much viscosity, but because they're all about the same viscosity, but in terms of their opacity when they go on the canvas, the yellow is the thinnest of them. Almost on the same level as mixing white. And in case you don't know what that means, there's titanium white, and then there's a mixing white, which is a very thin type of white that is used, as you might guess, for mixing other colors. Um, you can mix with titanium white, but some people feel they have more control over the brush if they use the mixing white, and more control over the temperature of the color with the mixing white. So some people prefer that. I personally don't. Myself, I prefer the titanium white. It's a more vibrant white. It's I find it's easier to work with, but your mileage may vary. Just like with everything when it comes to art, you know? Okay, so now I'm going to add a fair amount of white to get a highlight in two areas. One right here on that corner, and one going up this side so that we can add some dimension to this. And then, because you can't have light without dark, I'm going to add a little bit more white to that. We're going to have to add in a shadow, which we will do momentarily. I've said it before doing this painting, but I feel like, personally, doing anything with yellow is the hardest of the colors to work with, personally. Which is why I also tend not to paint a whole lot of stuff that has yellow tinges. But every once and then again, you can't avoid it, like when you're doing a traffic light. So, because those are yellow. At least here they are. I know in some places they're black. In some places they're horizontal, but here they're largely yellow and vertical. Okay, so now we're going to put in a shadow on this side and on the bottom. Oh, we need more black than that. And you'll notice too on the palette here, like it looks fine on the canvas, right? But on the palette, these are the colors that we're using, and they don't look yellow. Like they're very kind of like muted and all that. That's just kind of the stuff that you can play with when it comes to actually putting paint down. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to add a little more black to that. Darken it up just slightly more. Gives that edge. And we're going to a little spot here. Coming off the side. Down this way. That's the actual pole that it's attached to. And we'll clean that up, make it look much nicer. But last thing we're gonna do, get the smallest little thing of white and just add it here. To really bring out that traffic light there. Cool. Hey, thank you, Juliana. I appreciate it. So what I'll do now is I'll bring you all up close. I'll zoom out first. There we go. And then I'll grab the camera. I'll kind of show you everything that we did today, up close and personal. Let me move my water out of the way. So, we did all this stuff. Where are we looking at? There we go. So we did all this stuff in the back here. We added some more highlights in this puddle and kind of defined the edges a little more. Same on this side. Did the same thing. We added a more defined curve here up at the front. Differentiate between the road and the grass. We added these poles for the lights, and up here, that light. And then we added a houseway in the background that a pole will actually be stitched. There's going to be a pole right here, so it's going to get cut off, but that's fine. Then we added our little traffic light here, come down to the side. And yeah, that is our painting so far. So we're getting closer. We're inching closer. Oh, you can see my little apparatus to actually keep the phone in place. And those are some rolls of some old paintings that I haven't stretched yet, or have been stretched, and then I took them off the stretchers. But there we go. That's our painting. So with that, thank you all for joining me today. This was a lot of fun. We got a lot done today. I know it's all like small stuff, but honestly, the small stuff is very important for a painting like this, at least to me. So we got a good amount of that done. So I'm very happy with it. I'm gonna try and stop this from shaking. Stop that. Okay. Also, apologies for my webcam. It still stutters. I don't know why. But as long as you can hear my voice, I guess that's good enough. Eventually, I will get a better webcam, so that won't happen. This is just my built-in webcam, so I don't know why. But what are you gonna do? Some thank yous before y'all go. Nat, thank you again for the glug glug and for the lurk. And for anyone else who was commenting or lurking, thank you very much for tuning in. Always nice to chat with you, but if you're just laying in the background because you got stuff going on and you just want to relax, hey, no worries, no worries. We accept all lurkers here. And Nat, also thank you for the local guide. Yeah, thank you for the glug glug. Thank you for the local guide. I forgot local guide was a thing. Am I leaving? Yeah, I'm gonna raid out, but I am. We're pretty much done for today because I got to get my hands a break because I got to get back into. We did a little better today actually because usually my hands are like fatigued after an hour and a half because it's been a long time since I painted long term, like for a long time. That sentence was weird. It's been a long time since I painted for a long time, but it's been a while since I've painted like for hours upon hours on end. So I got to bring my hand strength back up. But we did better today because it's about an hour, almost 2 hours. So we're getting better. Yes, it's really nice seeing you too, Juliana. Very, very nice seeing you. Yeah, in case you have a chance to tune in again, we're going to be doing this every Monday, doing something art every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and Thursday every 6 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll probably do art on Tuesdays and Sundays too if I can't get my video games to work, because we've had to do that a couple of times. Um, yeah. Also, in case you're lurking, MMX Gannon, thank you for the follow. They followed 4 days ago, but in case you're in here, thank you very much for the follow. Let's see who is doing what. I have a feeling I know who I'm gonna. Back to Twitch. Let's see who's doing. Who's up to something we can raid out to. Hey, there we go. Um, Nat's streaming right now. So, what Nat is doing, as well as the other members of um, oh, what is the Cool Gamers Retirement Home? Um, they are collecting donations for, and I think they're still going. Um, but they were collecting donations for Gamers Outreach, which is basically a charity that allows kids to play video games when they're in the hospital. So I think that donation's still going on because she has Nat has exclamation point donate in her in the title of what she's playing. So yeah, we're gonna go say hi to Nat, see what they're doing. So let me raid out to Nat again. There we go. Cool. So yeah, thank you everybody for coming in again. Always fantastic to see y'all. We'll be back tomorrow at 4:15 p.m. to play a little Paper Mario. We'll go further on in chapter 5. Then we'll be back working on this painting on Thursday, like I said, at 6 p.m. Eastern, and then Sunday, hopefully, if I don't have another grant to write, we'll be playing Celeste at like 10 or 11 a.m. So hopefully we can see you all then, and if not, hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day and take care of yourselves. All right, take it easy, y'all.